Hey guys, it's Leanna, or if you'd like to call me LT. So we're back on another episode of Real Talk with LT. This time I don't have anything really planned. So we're gonna see where the flow goes and we'll just follow it. So lately I've been going through a season of waiting and getting ready. For what? I don't know, but the creator has really led me to trying to find happiness within myself and away from other people. And I think there is truly something important about taking the time to get to know yourself so that you can get yourself back out there in the world stronger, more energetic, and less filled with distractions. So I really spent this time, being indoors, being to myself. I've really been resting a lot. Resting is the key word. So I really want to talk about the importance of resting in the Most High and resting in your purpose. Resting knowing that you're waiting for a reason. And when it comes down to the seeds that we sow, I've really been learning to sow patience. I have been impatient in my life, and the times that I've asked for patience have been difficult. Like, I don't know if you can hear it, but my dog's scratching. And in a way, it kind of irks me. It makes me a little impatient. But it's something that I'm learning to cultivate because it doesn't come from me. It comes from Creator. And I know that he doesn't want me to be short fused. He doesn't want any of us to be short fused. He wants us to have self control. He wants us to have power, love, discipline. And those are the things that I've been working on. Very much having to come from a place of having to kind of like teach myself because I wasn't really taught to be disciplined, and I bet like if my parents ever heard this they'd be saying something like, oh yeah, we did try to teach you all that, but y'all had to be an example. you know it could be we could be teaching our generation something, but a lot of the times the way that we teach people is like, do as I say, not as I do, which I think completely disregards the fact that as children, we model behavior. We model the way that we treat other people based off of how we've seen our parents treat each other or how we've seen our parents treat themselves or other people. And sometimes I feel like, at least like me personally, hold on. Okay, so I ended up going to a different room because Mashika wanted to play with her squeaky toy. But as I was saying, let me just gather my train of thought. Our parents, sometimes they try to teach us like how to be disciplined and how to be a certain type of way. But I actually feel like we have a tendency as people to just fall short. And that's something that's naturally going to happen. So I want to talk about that a little bit and then also get into just in general how we can cultivate discipline in our own lives by seeking Creator and seeking the purest form of spirit, of the Holy Spirit, of Don Unseen, whom is the creator of the humans, creator of everything apart and together with the Most High. And so, you all know that our parents try the best that they can to teach us, and yet because we are in this world where people pleasing is number one, it seems as though people pleasing is number one. Me, as a first generation Mexican daughter from parents who came from Mexico and wanted the best for their children, what they viewed as the best was me getting a job in something that pays a lot of money, but that ultimately I don't feel a calling to, you know? So I started to realize that a lot of the things that my parents were trying to seek out for me personally, they just never connected 100% with me. And I went to school for 3 years. I'm still in the process of getting my associate's degree in psychology. But something about me taking a break made me realize that I needed to connect to who I really was in a place further from the physical, because my parents were really caught up in the world. My parents are caught up in bills. My parents are caught up in worries. My parents are caught up in, arguments and resentments of the past that they just, seem to put on me as a child and seem to put on me even now as an adult. And it really at times, and I'm responsible for it as well. I just want to put full disclosure that now that I'm older, I am responsible for how I respond to how my parents feel about me. And there were certain times where I genuinely was always triggered by my parents, and still have that tendency to be triggered by my parents, as like they've tried the best that they can. However, from the outside looking in, my family looks like a perfect family. My parents are still together. My parents still together. I have a house, and I'm blessed with food every day on the table, with food in the fridge that I can just make freely. I'm blessed with the ability to even have my cat and my dog here. I truly am blessed. However, I think that we kind of disregard um how parents tend to provide for us financially. They tend to provide for us like in a security. And I was lucky enough to even have that security of even having parents that like cared about me enough and loved me enough to make sure that there was food on the table every day and make sure that everything was covered for me financially. However, as a child, the thing that I needed the most was the emotional support. I needed someone to hear me. I needed someone to listen. And so as I grew older, I began to realize how much emotional support I lacked from my parents due to the trauma that they faced as children, causing them to not even have an ability to communicate emotions in a healthy manner. And this comes from, arguments and abuse that was within their household that they never got to acknowledge. So that's something that I genuinely pray that they heal from every day. Because at times that is the thing that closes off the connection between us. Because you can provide for someone financially. You can take care of them the best that you can. Give them food, give them clothes, give them everything you need. But if you don't have an emotional connection with your child, then in the future, there will be something lacking within that relationship, and not only within the relationship, but within the child itself, within themselves. There will be a kind of cognitive dissonance between, my parents tried the best that they could. They loved me the best that they could, but having to admit that, it wasn't what I needed. What I needed was love. What I needed was to be heard. What I needed was acceptance of who I was. And so as I grow older, I begin to see a cognitive dissonance between uh, who I am around myself and who I am with my family. And that's something that the Most High kind of started to show me, is that, like, as a child, I was hurt. As a child, I was hurt by other people. I was hurt. Maybe I'll go into this. As a child, I was sexually assaulted, you know. So I am a survivor of child sexual abuse. So since I was a child, I began to develop this fear in communication, this fear to tell those around me, to tell people how I truly feel. Because when I was really young, that option was taken away from me. When I was really young, I was quieted and I was hurt in the most silent and loudest way ever that a child could be hurt. And this is like me connecting with those whom I know, like the 97%, who knows how much percentile of children nowadays become children who are victims of sexual assault. But I think that that is where I feel that I had a distrust, and so it created a dysfunction within my life and how I viewed relationship and how I viewed communication and how I felt like maybe communicating these hard things were not needed. And that was something that really, really messed me up as a kid. And it made me had to reparent myself now as a 23-year-old woman. I'm still working on it. I'm not perfect. The thing that I'm working on right now is letting go of, like, these communication fears, and letting go of how my parents, they weren't always able to provide the emotional support that I needed. And so I had to learn to do that for myself. And through that, I very much connected with the Creator. And He really, really, really showed me where I was hurt. He showed me where I was hurt. Like, I know He says for us to forgive, but before we even forgive, we need to realize where it's coming from. What is the root of this? What is the root of the reason of why it's so difficult to be disciplined? It's so difficult to be patient. It's so difficult to be kind. It's so difficult to be, present and loving. And for me, that difficulty stemmed from not being heard as a child. And through that, developing like a certain, like, self-hatred towards myself, because that's the only way I could describe it. If you go through situations where people are always bringing you down and you allow that, it's like embedding a self-hatred within even wanting to hear yourself out. And that's something that I think that we all struggle with as a generation, is that we were raised by baby boomers. We were raised by baby boomers, or we were raised by, people who weren't emotionally intelligent and whom always, like, made it seem like we were sensitive for even having feelings. Like we're supposed to be a robot, like how they tend to act with themselves. That is a place of pain. And not only does that stem from a place of generational pain, but it made me realize that that comes from a place that we can break. That generational pain, that generational curse of not communicating, of holding your tongue. And of course, there is a time and a place to speak. There is a time and a place to hold your tongue. But Most High doesn't want us to be stepped on. He doesn't want people stepping on us. Even our family, he doesn't want anyone stepping on us. And sometimes those that are closest to us tend to be the ones that neglect us the most. They neglect to see us for who we are because all they see is who we used to be. And so by doing that, you don't even give somebody the opportunity to grow, because all you're ever going to see them as is that 5-year-old girl or that little brother that always messes up, or that big sister that is just like, addicted to drugs, or that has like these issues. And so like we that causes like a connection, because instead of trying to connect with each other emotionally, we connect with each other in a worldly level, and we judge each other instead of trying to understand where we came from and how we came to be. We have a tendency of prejudging each other, and that makes us kind of like not realize that those things that we might judge within another person are the things that we avoid to look at within our own damn selves. And I know that's happened to me a lot, because there was a certain point where I started to realize that I had these traits that my parents had, these traits that I hated, these traits that would dismiss me, these traits that would tell me that I'm too sensitive, and that, oh, I don't want to hear that, and that, oh, shut the fuck up, you know? And like I have heard that in my lifetime. Like I've defended things. I've defended being in the middle of a parent's argument. I've defended that. And all I got from defending the right thing, which is honestly what Most High would want us not to fight, all I got for defending was shut the fuck up. And I'm only gonna be cussing in those certain times, like just to kind of like make the point that like words can be internalized, and we have the power of life and death on our tongue. And you guys need to realize how powerful it is. Just saying one word to somebody. How many families out there? I'm sorry, and condolences if there are. How many families out there have had one of the children, one of the younger family members, commit suicide because all they wanted to be was heard? All they wanted to be was understood. And all they got was, there's something wrong with you. I'm worried about you. Um, you know, I have an issue with this and that and that and that. Why do you have to be this way? And, always judging their character instead of understanding that they're reaching out, that they are in pain. And I bet that many of those children, before they made the decision to end their own lives, they had said something about it. They told someone around them how they felt in some way, and they just weren't heard the way that they needed. Do you guys see how this lack of communication, this lack of healthy communication, because that there's a dysfunctional, there's an unhealthy communication. But do you see how this lack of communication can lead to many of our generational children in the future feeling like they can't do the things that they need to do for their own lives, because the voice in the back of their head is the voice of that parent, the voice of that family member telling them that they will never amount to anything? And this isn't to, divide families, because I think that we need to really come together and realize this, that we are hurting the children. The children feel misunderstood. The children don't feel like they're being heard. And if the children don't feel like they're being heard, then best believe they're not going to hear out their parents when the time comes. Okay, guys. So, in regards to that, we really have to kind of break down where we came from and how these childhood wounds, they stop us from being disciplined in our own work. They stop us from being loving. They stop us from being kind, because we're so caught up in that childhood wound that we completely shut down on everything in life in general. And we don't know how to even be disciplined and consistent, because we never had caregivers that were consistently, helping guide us to do the right thing. All we had was people who were criticizing us, calling it themselves our family and saying that it was the best for us, but it was really not. Because if it was the best, then we would realize that, you know, we need to speak life into our children. We need to speak life into our families. And a lot of the times, if you hear someone say something to you, you can classify it between two levels. Are they speaking life to you, or are they speaking death to you? Are they speaking love? Are they speaking kindness, understanding, discipline, long suffering, but in the sense of long suffering for good things, because good things will come from long suffering? Or are they speaking death? So when you really have a conversation with someone next, I really want you guys to notice it. See if you notice it. Are these people speaking life to me? Every time I talk to them, they don't seem to want to hear what I say. Every time I say something, it seems to get dismissed like it's really not important. Is that bringing life to you, or is that bringing death? Is that empowering your spirit, or is that dampening it and making you feel like you can't do any of the things that you need to do because your support system is lacking? And we do need a support system. This life, we need a support system. And that's where we kind of have to realize that, if our family can't be our support system, the Creator will be our support system. We will learn to reparent ourselves and be our own support system. Because sometimes we have to be disciplined enough to realize, hey, these people didn't really teach me what I needed to know for this world. And now I kind of feel like I can't really get things done. Now I feel like I'm procrastinating everything because the voice in my head sounds like the voice of the harshest parent in the house. Every time I do something, I hear it's not perfect. It's not perfect. Then don't fucking put it out there. When we should just be creating, creating, creating out of the joyness of our own heart and spirit. And I know I've cussed a few times. I really got to work on that. However, it really was just trying to get a point across. You know? So you guys need to realize that sometimes, because of our childhood, we have a tendency of internalizing that voice of death or life. So really, really look at how you're speaking to yourself. Are you speaking life onto yourself? Or are you speaking death and doubts? When you hear that voice of harshness in your head telling you you can't do this, you can't do that, I want you to take yourself out of the picture and ask yourself, who told you that? Who told you that? Was it these little spirits whispering in your head? Or was it that spirit that was working through that parent, that grandparent, that aunt, that uncle? Did you listen to what they said? And if so, how is their life? Are they miserable? Are they happy? Do they seem like they're doing the best that they can do? And once you answer that question, ask yourself, why should I even listen to them when I have a creator that has wonderfully and fearfully made me? That he has made me with the spirit of love, power, self-discipline. And the rest of it is just spirits that are influencing people. Because we do not battle against flesh and blood. We battle against principalities of, you know, people in the dark realms. We battle against evil spirits. We battle against spirits who like to influence those around us to bring us down. And I like to put it in that perspective because it makes you realize that maybe we're just all being influenced and we don't realize it. We're being influenced by a realm that has more power than we have given it. And maybe realize that maybe the reason why people keep, trying to bring you down and trying to like get in the way of what truly makes you happy is because they don't want you to be happy. They are stuck in their miserable cycle. And that means that anything that they tell you comes from a place of misery. It comes from a place of death. So just remember, when you hear that voice in your head, is it speaking life or is it speaking death to you? And are you going to do the spiritual work and also the childhood trauma work in order to love yourself better so that you can eventually love your neighbor in a pure, loving-hearted way? Because we deserve to let go of these burdens. And Most High sees when we're carrying a lot on our shoulders. And I know that He wants to get through to us. You are not whom they've said you were. You are not who they say you are. You are not too sensitive. You are not dramatic. You are not too much. Just because you have emotions and you have a soft heart, I would say that a lot of the people in this world have a hard heart. And that in itself makes us not see the Creator. Because we're supposed to be like children. We're supposed to be like children that have faith without seeing. And to be a child again, you have to reparent yourself. Sometimes to be a child, like the child that Most High wants us to be, we have to really look at ourselves and look at it like we're a separate being. Like for example, me, I'm 23 years old. Little Leanna, she's 9. She's been 9. She's stuck at 9. So many things happened at that age. She's stuck at 9. And she's crying and she's been crying ever since. Every day, I want you to take that little version of you. And even if you have to close your eyes and envision it, you pray to the Most High. Pray to Creator, the most purest Creator, that He may heal the child within you so that you can be free again, so that you can love without bounds, so that you can forgive without grudges, so that you can be who He's called you to be. Little you deserves that hug from older you. If your little child self, inner child, if they're crying, you hold them. Hold them the way that you wanted your parents to hold you when you were going through it. Talk to her the way that you prayed that someone would talk to you. Love her in the way that your parents couldn't love you. And remember that through that healing, you will be able to gain the self-discipline. And through that consistency of healing, you'll be able to gain that self-discipline, that love, that power, that glory that Most High promises for us, the fruits of patience. But we have to be patient with ourselves, and we have to be patient with our inner child. This is a time Most High wants us to get back to our roots. And our roots have to do with our inner child. Our roots have to do with that thing that hurt you the most, that you just can't forget. And I just want you to know that it might be a process. It might take a lot of spiritual work and a lot of spiritual warfare and a lot of people coming at you saying stuff about how you switched up and how you're changed and how they don't like that for some reason. That's what happens when people don't heal their inner child. When people don't heal their inner child is crying and having a temper tantrum, and their inner child is basically showing through that. They don't want you to be happy because their inner child and them inside themselves they're not happy. So they want you to do everything that they did in life, but everything that they did in life led them to not being happy, led them to not fulfilling their purpose. So that's something that this has really taught me, is that not allowing people to influence how I feel, not allowing people to, say something about my healing process. I might be spending a lot more time alone and I might not be hanging out with any of my friends right now, but it's necessary for me right now because personally, I'm at the point to where I need to find happiness within myself and I need to heal that little Leanna inside of me. That little Leanna that just struggles and she doesn't know how to say it, but I know that she's struggling, and so does Creator. And He's really teaching me to be there for her. He's teaching me to be there for her first because I've spent a lot of my life being there for other people, including the people who should have been parenting me. Sometimes it's weird that you feel like like you're more emotionally mature than your own parents. And they might be mature and elder in age, but emotionally mature? Ooh, I can't even say that. I can't even claim that because I'm still growing myself. But it's weird when you see arguments, petty arguments, and you realize, wow, they are just children. It's weird when you start to see your parents as their inner child. Because once you see your parents as their inner child, you start to see where they didn't get to heal, where they didn't allow themselves to heal. Because we have a choice. Most High has given us a choice to heal, to come to Him wholeheartedly and ask for His healing. And right now, that's what I'm working on. I'm working on healing because I don't want to be stubborn. I don't want to be one of those people that He talks about in Exodus. We're just like, these are some stubborn people, hard-headed, hard-hearted people that won't even look at the Most High because they've hardened their heart to their own child, to their own inner child. I just want you guys to remember her, or them, or him. What is your inner child telling you right now? And how can you best heal your inner child so that you can show up as a more disciplined, as a more patient, as a more loving person? How can you heal your inner child so that you can sow the seeds of good fruit? And I think the best way to find that out is for you to pray. Pray and ask. Ask and you shall receive. But also, remember to validate your child, your inner child, because before you ever have a child, you already have a child. They're just inside of you. It's that little you, the one that you haven't been paying attention to because you've been working so much. You've been working so much that she's been literally crying, and then you just say, like, oh, no, no, fuck you. Like, I don't want to deal with this. You have to deal with it. It'll destroy you. And if it won't destroy you, then it will debilitate your growth and it will keep you stagnant. And I learn and learn and learn this every day. And I'm not perfect, but I'm just trying to hopefully get through to someone. You know, Creator wants us to heal. So take the time, you guys, to heal your inner child, to take that time to not be influenced by those around you. Do not let the voice of others who have not taken the time to heal be the ones to influence you. Because although their words hurt and they sting and they speak death unto you, Most High has thoughts of peace and love, thoughts to prosper us, not to destroy us. He has thoughts of the future for us. He wants us to live in prosperity within His Spirit. And that means that we have to rest in His Spirit. Number one, rest in His Spirit. Heal our inner child. And sow the seeds of discipline, of love, of understanding, of patience into our own lives consistently. Because it's going to be hard every day. Especially when you go through a spiritual journey, it's going to be hard because you will be attacked at all sides. Your family will come at you funny. Your cousins will come at you funny. People in your life that you thought were there for you, they'll come at you funny just because you're working on yourself and they're not. They won't even come at you. Sometimes they'll just, like, disappear. And that's okay. Because every day that you're led closer to yourself, you're led closer to the Creator. Every day that you help yourself heal so that you can be the best, ultimate best version of yourself is every day that you get to grow as a seed. And it's not an overnight thing. The mustard seed of faith did not grow overnight. It grew in time, faithfully, patiently. So please, listen to the inner child within you. What are they missing? You might be surprised to say that they're missing you. All praise to the Most High. All praise to the Holy Mother Tonantzin, te Quetzalcoatl. All praise to the creation that He's created, to the ability for us to heal. I thank you for this message. I pray that it reaches whoever it needs to reach. And I pray that your glory may be shown throughout the world. And that your children may wake up and heal their own inner child, so that we can be as you have said for us to be like children. May this message reach who it needs to reach. I love you guys. Please take care of your inner child. Baruch Hashem.